I think there's about 28 of us right now, right, Brian? So let's just give it just one more minute and we can start. 1 second. So thank you all for joining us this evening. We greatly appreciate it. We know there's a lot going on and everybody is probably very tired and up late last night, but we really appreciate you attending the first BOLD Council meeting. It's the first one of the school year. And my name is Niamh Hartnett-Merluccio. I'm the co-chair of BOLD, along with Margaret Major. And for those of you who don't know what BOLD is, we are part of the PTA Council and we're made up of parent representatives from each school. And our goal is to foster inclusion, support, and to connect families. And obviously, we are families with students who fall under the umbrella of special education. And that includes children with IEPs, 504 plans, as well as students in our special classes. So according to the New York State education data, we have approximately, and Dr. Kelly will probably know more, we have approximately about 146 students, I believe, who are classified with these legal documents. So out of our 1,700 student body, it's probably about a little less than 10%. But another way to look at it is we have 750 families in the school. So about 20% of our families in our district do have somebody who is classified. And obviously, some of these families may have more than one child who has either a 504 or an IEP. So BOLD exists because it's important for our parent community to raise awareness and understanding of special ed and how these supports are put in place. It helps our students succeed in school, and that's the most important thing. Is our children's success is our driving concern. So awareness is part of what we do as parents. We want to immerse ourselves. We want to work with families, so we know that we want these families to know we are here to support them, and we really welcome anyone who would like to get involved in our committee. And your involvement can be as much or as little as your schedule permits. And we love when new people join us. So right now there's about 12 of us on the committee. And obviously we're always looking for new members to get involved. You can find our contact information on the PTA website under BOLD. And please do reach out to us anytime if you think that you have some suggestions for workshops or any other topics of interest that you feel you would like us to cover. So obviously this year we're going to have 2 other meetings. We're going to have a meeting on February 3rd and April 21st. That's on our district calendar. We're also going to start our BOLD socials. I know that COVID put all those unfortunately on hold. We used to meet at Kohl's, which was a great way for us to get to know each other. But we're going to do a BOLD social, obviously via Zoom. We have one scheduled for November 23rd, and we're going to do some fun things. And we will have some breakout rooms also during that time. So I would like to start by introducing Dr. Rachel Kelly. She's the head of Human Resources and Pupil Services at the Bronxville School. She's also the assistant superintendent of schools and the COVID coordinator right now. So she has a lot of things going on. So Dr. Kelly, thank you. You can start.
Thank you so much, Niamh. I do wear a lot of hats, and I'm not just saying this because this is a BOLD Council meeting, but special education, and anyone who knows me knows this, remains my priority. I want to welcome all of you. I appreciate you taking the time to join us this evening to hear really an overview of the comprehensive supports that we offer to our students with IEPs and 504s. We are in interesting times now, given the pandemic. I must say I'm incredibly impressed with our community and the level of strategic planning that multiple constituencies came together to conduct throughout the spring and summer that allowed us to open safely and in person. And this strategic planning committee involved the chief of police, our administrators, our faculty, specifically all of our curriculum leaders. There were students, parents, our medical director, local physicians, as well as our school nurses. And this committee worked hard to try and make sense of the guidance, the ever-changing guidance, the little guidance that we were receiving from the state. So quickly, a bit about myself. This is my 26th year here in Bronxville. I know I was a toddler when they hired me. And upon my arrival, there was no special classes. There were no special classes. And we also did not have one 504 accommodation plan for a student. So I must say I take a lot of pride in creating programs over the years that have helped our students achieve their goals and to meet their needs over the past 2 decades. As a result, there, excuse me, by creating these programs, this has resulted in very few of our Bronxville students having to be sent out of districts to other classes because we couldn't meet their needs. And that is something that we had a unique opportunity back in 1995 when I started. And that is when we created our first self-contained special class here. And I was able to bring back to Bronxville 2 Bronxville students that were being educated in another program in another neighboring school district. And I felt very strongly that we could create our own program, have greater control, and offer an outstanding program. And that was the beginning of what we now have as 4 special classes throughout our district. And these special classes allow us to educate students who have pretty significant needs and are unable to really learn new concepts in the larger classrooms, in the general ed classrooms. So these special classes allow for highly individualized instruction. In addition, we offer a number of related services in the district, and many of your children, I'm sure, are receiving them, and that includes speech language therapy, occupational therapy, and physical therapies. I did want to just talk briefly about one of my proudest moments over the past 2 decades, and that is that we were able to, with a tremendous amount of planning and a tremendous amount of support, we were able to open in-person instruction for our special needs students this past summer. And it worked out very well. Thank you. It worked out very well. And it really was a pilot, if you would, on a much smaller scale, of course, for our opening this past fall. So as you know, Bronxville, like every public school across the country, has to adhere to a large number of regulations by both the federal and state. And as a result of this, we offer a continuum of services within our district. I mentioned some of the related services, the special classes. We also offer Resource Room, which primarily is academic support that is in a pull-out program. So these are for students who are in the general education classrooms, but they need some support academically, whether it's reading, writing, or math. And that is most readily done in our Resource Room. Small ratios with a special educator and no more than 5 students. So for those of you who know me, I can really speak for hours about our programs and what we do, but there are a number of other team members here this evening that just want to summarize their roles and what we provide here in the district. This is just a snippet, so I want to emphasize that please don't hesitate to reach out to any of us with any specific questions or concerns about your child and their needs. Before I end, I do want to just take a moment and thank all of you, our parents, because it's because of you that we are able to do what we do every day with your children. And we really have been able to count on your consistent partnership. I'd also be remiss not to mention the administrators in the district who are partners in educating our special education students. That includes our principals, Trisha Murray in the elementary school, Tom Wilson in the middle school, Ann Meyer in the high school. Our assistant principals, Rakia Adams and Marcellus Lassane. We have a number of directors throughout the district that are intimately involved in our special ed programs. Mara Ketke for curriculum and instruction, Brad Ashley for technology, Joe Haven, our athletic director, and Erin Kind, who's with us this evening as our director of counseling. Our assistant superintendent for business, Dan Carlin, never says no when we need resources for special education. For that, I will be eternally grateful. And then our superintendent, Roy Montesano, whose support of our programs is unwavering. And I have to mention our stellar faculty. They're incredible, and it's not just because I've hired most, if not all of them. They are wise and caring, and I really believe our students benefit because of their daily work with them. I look around, I see what's happening in our local, on our neighboring school districts, and I really reflect on how fortunate we are to be here, to be with you as parents, and to be with our generous and active PTA and school foundation. So with that, let me pass it along to Tim Horgan, who is one of our seasoned high school resource room teachers, who will talk about what that program looks like on the high school level. Tim?
Thank you, Rachel. Hello, everybody. I see some familiar, friendly faces out there. For those I don't know, my name is Tim Horgan, and I'm a high school resource room teacher. This is my 14th year in Bronxville, so Rachel called it seasoned. That was very, very nice of her. Prior to Bronxville, I taught at Rye High School for 2 years, and funny story, just to touch on what Rachel was saying in terms of the program in Bronxville and the support that we offer and the support that we get from the community. My second year in Rye, I was sent out by the school principal to observe how other schools ran their special education program. So I went to Horace Greeley High School, I went to Bedford High School, I went to Bronxville High School, and I was blown away by the way that Bronxville accommodated all of the special education students. And I actually inquired on my visit if they had any job openings. And lo and behold, they did. And I started the very next September, and that was it. So at the high school, we're unique in that we offer services to children with 504 plans and IEPs. We have a resource room program, like Rachel said, that is a 5-to-1. We have a consultant program that's a little bit larger, which runs for 40 minutes 3 times a week, and the resource room program runs 80 minutes 3 times a week. I believe we have 5 resource room teachers in the high school, and each one of us specializes in something a little bit different. We all have our strengths, and we lean on each other for help and support when none of us are too proud to ask for help. And we are all in the same hallway. We ask each other questions all the time, and it's really a great dynamic between all the teachers. We also have some self-contained classes in the high school, which I've had the opportunity to teach over the years. I've taught self-contained U.S. history, self-contained world history, and self-contained math. Even dabbled in a little economics as well. Sorry, I just want to make sure I don't hand anything. We work hand in hand with the school psychologists, with the guidance counselors as well. There's a large support network for our students. So in order for one to slip through the cracks, you've got to have a lot of people sleeping behind the wheel. And usually that does not happen. Some kids have share aides. Some students have one-to-one aides who are absolutely phenomenal. Remote learning has been a bit challenging, but we're evolving. We're rolling with the punches. We are doing everything we can to make those students who are learning remotely feel like they're right in the classroom, in terms of casting whiteboard lessons right on the board, having them face the classroom and see their classmates, just to try to make them feel like they're getting as normal as an experience as they can. Dr. Kelly, if I left anything out, or if anybody has any questions regarding the high school, I'd be happy to answer.
Tim, do you want to just maybe talk about your work, the collaboration between special education and general education teachers?
Sure. So again, it's a little different this year. Usually it's us popping into people's classrooms, sitting down, going out to lunch with them, talking about students. That kind of, you know, can't do that with COVID. So, but we do collaborate with special education. I'm sorry, with regular education teachers. Some of our students have modified curriculums as much as we can modify them because they do have to pass readings exams. And so we'll help modify tests. We'll coordinate extended time, breaking down long-term assignments, making sure they're getting all their testing accommodations, their extra time, their use of word processor, if they get test read. And we're really a go-between between student and teacher and parent and teacher. We have a lot more interaction with parents, I think, than a general education student teacher does. And it's, half of our job as special education teachers is just building a rapport and building a relationship with the students so that they're comfortable. A lot of these guys have struggled for their academic career, and to know they have someone fighting out of their corner and sticking up for them and going the extra mile for them, it sets them at ease. It puts them at ease. It gives them a safe place in the building if they ever need some place to go, someone to talk to, and yeah. Okay. All right, guys, I hate to go, but I have to help put my my 3-year-old and my 18-month-old to bed. So it was a pleasure.
Thanks, Tim.
Bye, guys.
Great. Thank you, Tim. I know we have Manu Thomas up next. She's going to give us an overall view of the psychology department in the elementary, middle, and high school. Okay, Manu. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. It's so nice to see you all. The psychology department was an integral part of the school reopening committee to support students' social emotional well-being upon reentry. We feel really good about the plan that we created over the summer and supporting students through the general curriculum, as well as in terms of pull-out for individual and group counseling. At the elementary level, Dr. Ristola continues to provide social emotional curriculum through the CARE program using principles from DBT. This summer, we revised the curriculum to integrate our work from the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee. We integrated lessons on identity, awareness of others, compassion for self and others, as well as a module of interpersonal relationship, which lends itself to addressing broader notions of community and being an upstander. The students are doing an incredible job participating via Zoom or in person. They really can't get enough of these lessons. It's a joy to watch Dr. Ristola in action and join in with her. Dr. Lewis and I sometimes join in on the lessons. At the middle school level, the social emotional curriculum is delivered through the advisory program. Over the summer, Jillian Tomlin and Lisa DeSanto and Jim Agnello created videos and lessons to be integrated into the advisory program. And they're specific for middle school students, and it's done in the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade classrooms in advisory. At the high school level, through the 9th grade transition, social emotional lessons are presented by seniors. Students are introduced direct concepts in terms of DBT skills. So mindfulness, how to tolerate distress, manage their stress, compassionate listening in terms of relationships, and developing an authentic voice for themselves. So that is what we call our preventive program that all students have. And then we also have the individual and group counseling that continue in person and or via Zoom. So if a student is out or quarantined, they join us by Zoom or in person in terms of the pods that we pull them out through. This is done by psychologists, counselors, and psychology interns. And we continue to service students who have IEPs, 504s, and at the building level. In terms of evaluations, we've been started right from the beginning of the summer in terms of reevaluations, as well as initial evals for referrals for special education. The students have been great to work with. I wasn't sure how this would, pan out naturally, but really other than a mask, there's not a huge difference. They've been great and it's been going well. And finally, as always, we work collaboratively with general education, special education teachers, support staff, and related service providers. I will say, as Dr. Kelly mentioned, when I speak with other psychologists in neighboring districts, I feel so fortunate to be there 5 days a week because it's so much easier to deliver services and support students. Being able to do that at the K through 8 level, which is, incredibly unique still. And the students are, for the most part, happy. And if they are having a difficult time, we continue to provide services and support.
Thank you, Manu. That's great. We greatly appreciate all that you do. So as I say, any questions you have, you could type them in the chat and we can address them later. Next, I'd like to introduce Christine Dowd for the elementary school special education department. So Christine, I'll let you speak next. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. I hope everyone's doing well. My name is Christine Dowd, and I am one of the elementary special education teachers, as well as the elementary special ed curriculum leader. And this is my 17th year in Bronxville. So I too was hired by Dr. Kelly as a toddler. So thank you for having me. And I'd just like to give a brief overview of our resource room program, or what we call in Bronxville Learning Center, as well as our building level support program, which we refer to as skills. And so our Learning Center program or resource room is for our students with disabilities that are in our general education classrooms that are eligible to receive daily support. And these students work directly with their grade level special ed teacher. There's one per grade level. And they work to support the students in small group and reinforce the classroom learning. And our Learning Center teachers work very closely with our classroom teachers as well as the grade level team to modify curriculum, adjust pacing, remediate instruction as needed for their students. And additionally, they consult and collaborate constantly with the related service providers, our school psychologists, and our teacher aides, which are an integral part of our team as well. And due to COVID this year, we had to think outside the box, and we were very thoughtful. And we have placed our students who receive Learning Center support in pods, so they can be pulled out of their classroom to receive their services in the resource room still in a safe way. So rather than mixing students from multiple classes, the special ed teacher only sees students from one particular class at a time, with cleaning in between each group. So due to this model being so thoughtfully planned out, our general education students with disabilities are receiving the level of in-person support that they need to be successful. And it really feels, as Manu mentioned, except for the masks and the shields, it feels pretty similar to years past. So it's working very nicely. And additionally, we do have some Learning Center students who are remote, and they are live streaming into our daily lessons that take place in the Learning Center rooms, and they are staying connected throughout the day through platforms such as Seesaw or Google Classroom. So that's our Learning Center program that we have in the elementary school. And then our skills program is for students who require just some additional support and practice as needed in order to maintain grade level benchmarks in reading and math. And these students are seen during our intervention block for what, and this is for what we call skills, as I said. And this support typically takes place 3 times a 6-day cycle. And as I mentioned, it's always during our intervention or I block. And each grade level has their own set I block each day. And that's, it's pretty fluid. It's when kids will come out of classrooms to receive other skills or possibly other related services that are needed. And due to COVID, we're currently running a hybrid skills program, which allows students to be seen in person with children from just their class pod for a consecutive cycle. So they'll come, for example, days 1 through 5 in person with other students from their class, and then they will live stream in from their Chromebooks the next cycle, for example. And we alternate each cycle in person and remotely. And of course, the rationale for this hybrid model is so we can maintain those pods and just err on the side of safety. And this has been working very nicely. And really the classroom teachers have been very supportive in helping this program run smoothly. So thank you to them. So that's our resource room and our skills program in our elementary school. And so if you have any questions, you can just type them in the chat. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Christine. We're going to have Jessica Libertor for the middle school special education So I will let Jessica speak next.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jessica Libertor. I teach resource room and skills in the middle school across all 3 grade levels, so 6th, 7th, and 8th. This is actually only my 2nd year at Bronxville, but I'm so happy to be here and continue working with our special ed students. The other 3 special educators in the middle school are Julia Brogan, Jelana Valente, and Anne-Marie Mazzio. We wanted to begin by telling you what we focus on in resource room and skills classes. So first, resource room classes in the middle school meet 4 times a 6-day cycle, and skills classes meet 2 times a 6-day cycle. We focus on a lot of test preparation. So we work on creating study guides together, or we work on completing study guides that the general ed classes have provided the students. And we also work on a lot of study strategies with them. We work on essay planning. So we create outlines and organizers to help students prepare for writing essays. We also assist students in how to revise and edit their essays. So sometimes this involves providing them with revising and editing checklists. We work a lot on any long-term projects. So when students are assigned a project to complete over a long period of time, we'll help them plan out that project. And we do that by helping them break the project into more manageable pieces to be completed over time. And then we also monitor their progress as they work on it. In resource room and skills, we also reteach and pre-teach any difficult content material. So if any content is especially difficult for students, we'll preview that material before it's introduced in class, or we'll review it again after it's already introduced. A lot of the time, this has to do with vocabulary. So we'll preview any new difficult vocab for students, and then we also review it again. A lot of the time it's using online or index card flashcards, which is a great strategy to also use at home for new vocab. We also work on organizational strategies. So we review the homework roster, which is a great tool that the middle school has. It can be found on the middle school website. Every day, the general ed teachers have to post their homework assignments on there. So it's a great way to keep track of any upcoming due dates or tests that the middle school might have. We also make sure that the students know where to turn in assignments on Google Classroom. So since Google Classroom is very important, especially this year, I just wanted to remind everyone here that it's very important to make sure that your kids are turning in the assignment on Google Classroom. A lot of kids with executive functioning difficulties have trouble remembering to click that button. So Google Classroom is very important this year, and that especially is very important so your kids don't fall behind on any assignments. And finally, we also work on accomplishing any individual IEP goals during resource room and skills time. And that is resource room and skills in the middle school, but thank you all for everything you guys do at home also.
Thank you, Jessica. You've been my lifesaver, and you know that, right? So thanks for all the support you've offered me. Next, so we've heard from our elementary, middle school, and high school special education. Next, we're going to have Jim Agnello from middle school counseling. Jim is going to say a few words to the bowl committee. So thank you, Jim.
Hello, everybody. It's great to be here tonight. I have probably the first person on this screen that Rachel hired. I've been here 23 years. I spent 18 years in the high school. My primary caseload in the high school was 504 and IEP students. So this is very near and dear to my heart as well. And I like to look at it in terms of, you know, Tim mentioned collaboration, but take that even a step further and to include like a family school partnership model. And I think many of the familiar faces I know on this screen tonight in the parent community can attest to that. So, you know, many of the smaller, awesome things that Bronxville has to offer simply become because we're K-12 in one building. So the ability for me to, you know, well, pre-COVID anyway, walk down the hallway and talk to Manu about a student and, you know, what worked well for them, those things just can't go on in a large district. I wouldn't know who Manu was in a large district or even a medium-sized district if we were in buildings miles apart. So that really is what helps our students be so successful at every level, any type of class, whether it's from kindergarten to 12th grade, and every single student in the building. So that's really great. Jess spoke about our resource room and skills support, and that's another phenomenal model because all of the teachers know all of the grade level curriculums. And what props that up in the middle school and somewhat in the high school, but I'll let Aaron talk about that, is that we have a lot of other groups that meet that, fill in the fabric of what holds our students together. And one of those groups is we have weekly, every morning for about 35 minutes, each grade level meets. So that's all of, on a Tuesday, every Tuesday morning is 8th grade, 7th grade on Wednesday, 6th grade on Thursday. Those are all the teachers that teach those grade levels, all the support staff, which are the counselors, the resource room teachers, psychologists, principal. So that's really very helpful. And then we have another layer that is, we call the SST for Student Support Team. And that is the psychologists, counselors, the principal, and we often include the health office in that because they often see some of the first signs that something's not right with the students. So it may manifest in a different way, that their stomach hurts or they want to go home. So again, we're fortunate. Everybody on that list knows these students since they were in kindergarten. So that's really incredibly helpful. It's hard to put a quantitative measure on that, but the outcome is obvious. So, and we do counseling. The guidance counselors do counseling. We're advisors as well in the advisory program that Manu spoke to. And we are kind of the, touch base person. Anything that just doesn't seem right with your student, you just give us a call or an email and we'll be glad to step in.
Great. Thank you, Jim. As well as doing all that, you do the cross country, right? You have a lot going on, Jim. Thanks so much for everything. So we're also going to have Aaron Kind speak. He's the Director of Counseling and Accommodations in College. So Aaron, I'll let you take it from here.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. It's so nice to see some familiar faces. As mentioned, my name is Aaron Kind. I'm the Director of Counseling. This is my 5th year in Bronxville. Rachel also hired me. Previous 4 years, I was in the high school as a school counselor after Jim took his talents to the middle school. Like Jim, my caseload historically has been primarily students with 504s and IEPs, so this committee is close to my heart as well. I did want to, I'm gonna kind of go off script here and just focus on 2 topics. One being an event that the BOLD committee is having, and then I'll talk a little bit about the role of the high school counselor. And I think I'll do the latter first. So the funny thing is, Jim kind of took many of my talking points because the continuity of services continues in the high school, right? And so as Jim can go talk to Manu, I can now go talk to Jim, I can talk to Lisa, I can talk to Jessica, and I can name a whole bunch of middle school teachers that I can also talk to about any of the students that are in the high school. So a lot of those same luxuries occur when a student gets to high school. And like Jim said so eloquently, the partnership between the student and parents and school remains just as strong as it does in middle school and elementary school as it does in high school. And so I too, or the counselors as well in the high school, are working kind of hand in glove with special education teachers and general education teachers for students with 504s and IEPs, and really all students, but specifically as it relates to this committee of students with plans, and just making sure goals are being met on IEPs, services are being delivered through 504s, and because it's high school, our role takes on a little bit of a different flavor, which is maybe a nice transition into the program. But as students mature through high school, it becomes a lot about course selection and finding interest and exploring those interests through extracurricular activities or through classes, and ultimately leading up to post-high school planning. which is the topic of December's evening event. So December 1st, we are going to have a representative from Landmark College talk to those that are interested in the high school about what services look like and could feel like when students get to college. And those services are very different than they are in high school, and vary in scope and vary in frequency and vary in cost, actually. So for those of you either listening to the replay of this or on the call, if your child is in grades 9 through even through 12, I think the December 1st, 7 o'clock event will be some very interesting information to think about, even if you have a senior, going through the college application process. And I think with that, I'll close.
Great, thank you so much, Aaron. So obviously we will be sending out reminders regarding that meeting on December 1st, and it's, as we say, to do with accommodations in college from the Landmark Admissions Office. I will now send it back to Rachel to see if we can answer any of the questions, and if you have any questions, you can definitely put them up on the side. Rachel, would you want to read them yourself?
Sure.
Or would you like me to read? I'll let you read them. Thank you.
There's one question that has to do with note-taking skills specifically, and we know that many of our children, the note-taking skills does not come naturally, but really has to be taught specifically. And that is something that can be done in skills or resource room. If a child is still having difficulty with note-taking, then what I would suggest is that we set up some sort of structure in order to address it. We didn't have a good experience with recording lessons. I will leave it at that. But there are other things that we can do. What I don't want to do is to just hand a copy of class notes to students. My concern about that is that we are not adequately preparing them for their next chapter, because class notes will not be handed to them necessarily in college. So I want to set up a structure where we can teach the students how better to take notes during classes. And 80-minute classes are long, and although there's a variety of activities over those 80-minute classes, they do need to learn how to take those notes. So I would encourage you, specifically Katie, but anyone, to reach out to the guidance counselor, and let's set up a structure. Some of the things that we've done in the past, and you guys can chime in if I'm missing anything, is that we have the child go to the classroom teacher during extra help time. This year that's remote, but we still have extra help time, to review their class notes together. And this will allow the classroom teacher to fill in any gaps and to have a discussion to make sure that the child understands everything that was going on in class. And again, this is a way where the student can still practice and be taking notes, but then be able to supplement them with the teacher. If there's a need, we can always remind teachers to be more consistent in their reminders to the students. Okay, this is important, guys. I'm going to be writing this on the board, get this down. And I think as some teachers, as the students get older, they may not do that as readily as they do in some of the lower grades. Beta, good question. Beta asks a question about the different pathways for students, specifically who are in the self-contained classrooms. And there are different pathways. There's, the Regents diploma, but then there are other types of diplomas. Very often students in our special classes come high school, we like to get them out into the community. We're hoping we can still do that given what we're dealing with COVID. But we want to be able to give students the skills they need for their next chapter. So whether that's college after 12th grade, or whether that's more of a career or a vocation after the age of 21. We had a retirement of our special class teacher in our high school who really handled the majority of our transition needs. And so as a result of that, we've hired a transition consultant. And she works closely with the families to help ensure that the families of our special class students, as they get older, are fully aware of the adult services and the next chapter for them. In fact, we're in the process of setting up a workshop for our special class parents, even of our younger students, so that they can start some of those processes earlier. And there is a question about elementary skills program. That is, so yes, of course a parent can make a request for skills. They don't necessarily get it, right? It's based on data and it's based on a child's daily functioning. So we look very carefully at the data in terms of how they're performing on some standardized measures. And then we also look at how they're performing daily in the class. And if they are eligible for skills services, they will receive it. And occasionally we have students who go to skills for maybe not the specific reason, right? We have ELA, English Language Arts skills, and math skills. There are some students whose academic skills aren't that weak, but they may be highly distracted. And so having that small group time may benefit them, even though their skill deficits aren't that significant. We have had students from, and anyone else can chime in at any point. We have had Bronxville students go to Landmark in the past, not so recently. I can think of two, and Jim, you could probably help me with that, but I can think of two that went, and both actually transferred after 2 years, if I'm not mistaken, to then a 4-year college.
Yeah, I'll just actually take that cue as to say, which I neglected to say, the Fern is the name of the rep at Landmark. She is also, I think I said that she is also a parent of a student with learning disabilities, and is coming, is kind of zooming into us wearing two hats, one as an admissions representative, but two as a parent, having gone through the sort of college search process. So while she will talk about Landmark and the work that they do there is actually quite remarkable, the scope of the presentation goes way beyond just that college.
Is it possible for teachers to identify skills issues on remote learning? I would say yes, because they are still responsible to produce work. So we still have a good handle on their daily performance, even if they are learning remotely. And I want to emphasize again, like you've met some of us here this evening, but whether it's the school psychologist on your grade level, whether it's a guidance counselor in the middle school or high school, whether it's the special ed teacher that is currently working with your child, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We are, that's why we're here. We want it to be a positive experience for your children and for you. So we are certainly open to your feedback.
Great, thank you.
I have a quick question related to the elementary school. I'm just starting my journey, so sorry for other people who this is like apparently obvious, but how frequently are the children being evaluated in terms of like growth? I mean, I know I have a pretty open conversation with all the individuals who are helping my son, but are there tests in which you're evaluating them on a certain frequency?
Sure, I'll answer that. So we do benchmark assessments 4 times a year. And we do in reading, we do something called the STAR assessment. We also do regular like running records. We use the Teachers College reading assessment, if you're familiar with that. We also do the STAR assessment for math as well, and including all of the unit assessments for math. So we gather a lot of data And as Rachel was talking about how to, our skills program, and that's the data that we use because those are our benchmarks to see who needs the extra support and skills and who can be supported in the classroom.
Great. Thank you, Tricia. Thank you for the question. If anyone else has any other questions, you can just, if you want, type them in there. We can ask now. And if not, I just do want to say that BOLD, we are here for the parents, and please do reach out for us at any time. If you have any questions that you feel you'd like to ask us as parents, there are about 12 of us on the committee, and we are there to support all our parents in whatever way we can. You will be hearing from us regularly throughout the year, and I would just really like to thank all the staff and Dr. Kelly and all the teachers and counselors and psychologists, and they've done an amazing job. And we are so appreciative of everything that you do and of your 7 p.m. Zoom meetings, like your days are not long enough. So we greatly appreciate that. So thank you so much. I just see there's one or two more questions. Yes. Okay. Do you want to respond to those?
So if I'm not mistaken, and Tricia, let me know, I believe that the assessments that you give in the benchmark assessments can be administered online, like they are on the computer. Oh, are you muted?
I'm sorry, Rachel, what was the last part that you just said?
In terms of the benchmark assessments, how are you handling that for children who are remote?
For children who are remote, they still take those because some of those are online assessments. If it's just a regular unit assessment, we give that to them like they're in the classroom and say they just have to do it independently. For kids who cannot do the assessment online, that's why we have other types of reading and math assessments as well. So we would do, we could still do a running record with them to get their appropriate reading level and be able to assess growth.
And Rachel, we in the middle school use the STAR as well, and that was set up last spring that students could access that from home for reading and math.
There was a question here in terms of eligibility for special education support in the summer. So there's very specific criteria for that. Summer services for students with disabilities are defined in terms of substantial regression. And we look at substantial regression in terms of how a child performs after weekends, how they perform after vacation periods. And it's about how much time if they've lost anything over those periods of time, how much time does it take for them to get back to where they were? So if you have a week off, and the child has lost skills during that week off, if it takes at least 1 week to get them back to where they were prior to that week off, that would be considered substantial regression. So generally speaking, and this is a general statement, generally speaking, it's the students who have significant disabilities and typically need that highly individualized instruction throughout the school year in a special class, generally speaking. And yes, students who are fully remote, whether it's in elementary, middle, or high school, do have access to their support services. And if that is not happening, you need to let us know that, because it should be. They should be part of their skills group. They would just join them via Zoom. If a family is interested in Access VR, we can help facilitate that through our transition coordinator. So just reach out to me. Anything else?
Great. Thank you so much. Dr. Kelly, thank you so much for your time tonight. I greatly appreciate anyone's time. Again, please do reach out to me. I am the co-chair of the BOLD committee at any stage, along with Margaret Major, and you will be hearing from us. You'll be getting lots of emails and telling you about upcoming events. We look forward to seeing you on December 1st. And thank you, Erin, for making that happen. So thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Neve. Bye,
Thank you.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.